It's Saturday morning, and it's time to talk technology on the expert segment, and that means our tech expert, Luis Alvarez, who's CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, is with us here on Power Talk Radio. And Luis, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, my friend. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So we've got an interesting story to talk about from Futurism.com that says that Google is making some huge changes that are poised to decimate what is left of journalism, and it's under the subhead that AI strikes again. So what's going on here now?
Well, last month, Google announced that they were changing the way that their Google search worked. We're used to going on Google and searching, like the term, Google it, right, has become commonplace where we talk about searching for something online. And typically when you search for something online, what you're presented with is a list of links that you can click on, some ads to the right or to the left of your search, but it directs you to the actual original piece that may have the answer to the question that you're asking. So if you're searching online for, hey, what's going on with the unemployment rate today, you might get a link to CNBC or MSNBC or MSN or some other story online. But when you do that with a chatbot, right, what you get is the answer with no references to where the chatbot got the answer. So instead of getting these links that lets you search for those things, you instead get, well, the unemployment rate today is 4.3%. The job creation was $172,000 or 172,000 people in May, and so on and so on and so on. So you get these answers that are definitive without necessarily any links to the original source of the data, which means that if you are a producer of that original content, right, you're a journalist or you're a news service, you actually don't get eyeballs on your site, which means you lose out. And so that's why this change, a lot of journalists are concerned because it means that there's no incentive to create content because you're not going to be referenced, right? The answer is just going to be presented. And so there's no real value in you spending a lot of time and effort in creating this content. So what does that mean to the content creators?
It means you don't get paid.
An interesting dilemma.
Well, it means you don't get paid. If you don't get paid, you don't eat, you can't work. I mean, there's no reason to do it if you can't get paid.
Exactly. So it's going to be an interesting change. And it's a trend that we've been seeing over the last probably 24 months as AI chatbots have become much more used by people instead of traditional search, rather than going online to google.com, you're using your chatbot, whether it's, Microsoft Copilot or Anthropic or ChatGPT, just to ask the question and relying on it to provide the answers and not necessarily reference the links that it got those answers from.
So that brings the broader question and more existential. What does become of journalism, right? Because how are we going to pay for this? I mean, the people that go to meetings, like if you're talking about city council or they go and attend and watch Congress or whatever it is, somebody has to pay for what they're doing or it's not going to exist.
Yeah, and you're seeing that playing out in the journalism world with a lot of layoffs, a lot of news sources like the Washington Post, New York Times. They are laying off a lot of their reporters because they're just not getting the revenue that they used to get because of people not visiting those websites anymore because they're just getting their answers from chatbots.
Right. The effect that it's had on print journalism has been devastating. And I was reading a note or somebody's entry on Nextdoor the other day about the local newspaper, that it's so thin now that a lot of times the delivery guy, he puts the paper in plastic with a small rock in it so that he can throw it and it will land where he directs it to so it doesn't get taken away by the wind. I mean, that's how small. I mean, I sometimes see the Monterey Herald or the Salinas Californian and I can't believe how thin they are now. And they're a lot more expensive than they used to be because, they're expecting us to pay $1.25, $1.50, $1.75 for the daily paper because they're trying to recoup as best they can what it costs to produce this thing, and the fact that their advertising revenue that used to exist that underwrote, that made it possible for us to have a 25-cent or 50-cent daily newspaper, that revenue largely has gone away. And so now the end user is expected to shoulder more and more of the cost.
Yeah, and it's sad. I know in our area, the Monterey County Weekly has started an edition that focuses on the Salinas Valley, which is great. But even that is an online source. It's not necessarily a print source.
Right.
And there's something for those of us that grew up in a certain generation about holding a newspaper in your hand and being able to page through it and read not just the headlines, but in-depth articles on things that you might not otherwise know anything about.
Correct.
And I think we're losing that because when you go online, you don't necessarily troll through, subject matter that you don't know about. You tend to focus on things that you're interested in. So that's the only things you learn about. But when you open a newspaper or a magazine, you get like a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different things that make you say, oh, I didn't know this. And it's a shame that I think we're going to lose that more and more as AI and chatbots take over the function of search engines.
And I think the broadsheet, the daily broadsheet, unfortunately, the daily newspaper looks like it's going to end up going away. They're having the greatest dilemma or issue in remaining solvent. In our area, we are fortunate because it looks like the two weekly papers, the two most significant weeklies, which would be the Monterey County Weekly and the Carmel Pinecone, they seem to be holding their own and still doing very well. I mean, you look at the ad lineage in the Pinecone, particularly when there's a special event, you say, how can these guys not be making money? Because, they have entire sections devoted to the Pro-Am or Car Week or any number of special things that are going on. So that people still use the Pinecone, and it must generate results for the advertisers. Otherwise, the ad lineage wouldn't be there. And we may get to the point where the only thing that we have left are weekly newspapers, or maybe something like the Herald ends up becoming a Sunday-only publication. And then the rest of the week it's online. I don't know. I don't know where this is all going to go.
Well, and the new generation that just doesn't understand newspapers or print magazines. Their whole world is digital. So
or payphones for that matter.
Yeah, or payphones. I actually saw a real working payphone the other day, which was really weird.
Oh, that's crazy. All righty. Hey, that's Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, with us today on Power Talk Radio. Online, you'll always find him at alvareztg.com, at alvareztg. That's the X handle. And Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.
Those are the guys that are digging down deep to stay up on top.
There you go.
Yeah. And then looking ahead to Monday, we've got an interesting story about some more help, assistance in the healthcare realm to bring some affordability, prescription drug prices.
Yeah, tune in and you might save some money.
That's right. So we're going to talk to you about that coming up on Monday, starting at 8:30 here on Power Talk. All right, Luis, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you have a great rest of the weekend. We'll chat again on Monday.
Yeah, all right, my friend. Take care.